The salt spray of the Southern Ocean stings the air, but it cannot mask the scent of something far more chilling. Imagine a man slumped against a seawall, a half-smoked cigarette resting on his collar, his clothes pristine, his identity erased. No labels in his suit, no pulse in his chest. And in a hidden pocket, a scrap of paper with 2 words, Tamam Shud. Finished? For investigators, this wasn't the end. It was the beginning of a descent into a labyrinth of codes and Cold War secrets. A disappearance of the soul so complete, it terrifies the modern mind. Who is the man from nowhere? But a new invisible frost is settling over the globe. The Cold War. Adelaide, Australia, is a city of quiet suburbs, seemingly a world away from the espionage of Berlin or Moscow. Yet it is here on Somerton Beach that the impossible occurs. Our victim is a man of peak physical condition. He is in his mid-40s, broad-shouldered, with calves like a ballet dancer. He is dressed in high-quality clothing, a white shirt, a red and blue tie, brown trousers, and a fashionable gray overcoat. But as the coroner begins his work, a sickening realization sets in. Every single clothing label has been meticulously cut away. There is no wallet, no passport, no name. He is a ghost in a bespoke suit, a vacuum of identity left on a public beach. His pockets yielded only an unused bus ticket from the city to Henley Beach, and a second-class rail ticket never used. A pack of Army Club cigarettes containing 7 Cancetas, Bryant and May matches, and 2 chewing gum packets. The meticulous removal of labels, the carefully chosen but generic items, everything screamed of a deliberate attempt to sever any link to his past. It was as if he had been carefully curated for oblivion. The discovery was made on December 1, 1948, shortly after 6:30 a.m., by local businessmen John Lyons and Ernest Boxall. They believed him to be a drunkard sleeping off a night of revelry, a common sight on the beach. But as the hours passed, and he remained motionless, their unease grew into alarm. The man lay on his back, his head resting against the seawall, his legs crossed, with his feet pointing towards the sea. It was a posture of peculiar repose, almost peaceful, yet utterly unnatural for a living person. When police arrived, the scene remained undisturbed, a frozen tableau of quiet desperation. His eyes, blue and open, stared blankly at the fading starlight, reflecting only the vast indifference of the cosmos. The sand around him was unmarred, save for the faint imprint of his body. No signs of struggle, no discarded weapons. No footprints leading to or from the silent figure. It was a meticulously clean death, a vanishing act performed in plain sight. The initial autopsy, conducted by Dr. John Dwyer, revealed a man whose internal landscape told a different story than his serene exterior. His heart was of normal size, but small vessels throughout his body, particularly in the brain, were constricted. The medical term was congested, a vague descriptor for a man whose blood seemed to have nowhere to go. There was no foreign substance found in his stomach, no clear evidence of conventional poisoning. Yet, Dwyer concluded that death was caused by heart failure due to a powerful, fast-acting poison that had left no trace. A poison so potent that it metabolized almost instantly, leaving only its devastating effects behind. Such poisons were rare, sophisticated, and often the domain of state actors. This wasn't a random act of violence. It was precision, designed for maximum deniability. The lack of vomit, a common symptom of poisoning, further confounded the doctors. This man had been eliminated with surgical efficiency. The investigation begins with a frantic search for a missing person, but no one is looking for him. His fingerprints are run through every database in the British Empire and the United States, yet they return a haunting silence. The police issued a public appeal, plastering posters of the man's face across Australia, hoping someone, anyone, would recognize him. The response was a flood of false leads, mistaken identities, and curious onlookers, but no genuine breakthrough. The silence was deafening, a vacuum where a life once was. His dental records, often a reliable identifier, matched no one. His unique ear structure, described by experts as unusually prominent, also led nowhere. This man was truly a phantom. An individual whose existence seemed to have been erased from every official record, every personal memory. It was as if he had materialized on Somerton Beach solely for the purpose of dying anonymously. Weeks later, on January 14, 1949, a suitcase is found at the Adelaide railway station, held in the cloakroom since November 30, 1948. The attendant initially denied having such an item, but a persistent detective, Inspector Robert Lean, insisted on a more thorough search. Inside were clothes, also with their labels meticulously cut out, along with a stenciling brush, a knife, and a thread of a specific type. This thread, an unusual orange wax line, was later matched by forensic experts to a repair made on the Somerton man's trousers. It was the first, and perhaps only, concrete link. The suitcase contained other mundane items: a dressing gown, slippers, 4 pairs of underpants, pajamas, toiletries, and an electrician's screwdriver. There was also a unique triangular cut piece of cloth, possibly used for wiping something. Yet, no letters, no diary, no identification documents, no personal effects that could hint at his life, his work, or his destination. The only clues were the tools of a man who lived in the shadows. A brush for stenciling, perhaps for marking cargo or documents. And a knife, a tool of trade or of danger. The suitcase offered tantalizing glimpses, but no answers, deepening the enigma. It suggested a life on the move, a transient existence. Why carry a stenciling brush unless you were involved in clandestine activity? Then the most terrifying discovery of all, the hidden pocket. During a second, more thorough examination of the Somerton man's trousers. In April 1949, pathologists discovered a secret fob pocket, cleverly sewn into the waistline. Inside was a tiny rolled-up piece of paper, with the Persian phrase tamam shud. This phrase, meaning finished or ended, was ripped from the final page of the Rubaiyat of Omar Khayyam, a collection of 11th-century Persian quatrains exploring themes of fate, destiny, and the transient nature of life. The words sent a shiver down the spines of the investigators. Was this a philosophical statement, a coded message, or a grim epitaph? The Rubaiyat itself is a meditation on mortality, pleasure, and the inevitability of death. To die with those words in a hidden pocket felt deeply symbolic, almost poetic in its finality. The search for the sourcebook began, a desperate hope that it might contain further clues. That hope was realized when, months later, on July 23, 1949, a local man named John Freeman handed a copy of the Rubaiyat of Omar Khayyam to the police. He claimed he had found it in the back of his unlocked car, parked near Somerton Beach, on the very night the body was discovered. He had initially thought little of it, but after hearing news reports about the Tamam Shud scrap, he realized its potential significance. The book was a rare edition, translated by Edward Fitzgerald. Crucially, the final page, containing the very words Tamam Shud, was missing. Under ultraviolet light, forensic experts discovered faint pencil-written markings on the back cover of the book. It was a sequence of seemingly random letters, arranged in 5 lines. Roababd mliaobo I tutempanit mliabo axit, krabas, this was it. The code. A cipher that even the world's best cryptographers, including those from the Australian Department of Defence, military intelligence, and even Scotland Yard, could never crack. It was and remains an unbreakable enigma, a silent scream frozen in time. The sequence was too short for common code-breaking techniques, and without a key it was a meaningless jumble. Was it a military code? A personal diary? A love letter? Its very resistance to decryption only amplified the mystery, hinting at a level of sophistication far beyond a simple civilian death. Beside the code, also faintly written in pencil, was a phone number. It belonged to a nurse named Jessica Thompson, whose real name was subsequently revealed as Jo Thompson, and later Justin, who lived on Jetty Road, Glenelg, just a few hundred meters from where the Somerton man was found. When shown the plaster cast of the dead man's face, a chilling interaction unfolded. Jessica Thompson reportedly became disturbed and alarmed, almost fainting. She initially denied knowing the man but admitted to owning a copy of the Rubaiyat and giving it to a man named Alfred Boxall, a former soldier she knew during the war. However, Alfred Boxall was quickly located, very much alive, and still in possession of his own. intact copy of the Rubaiyat. Jessica's denial, her visible distress, and the proximity of her home to the discovery site only deepened suspicions. What was she hiding? Why did she react so strongly if she truly didn't know him? Her daughter Kate later suggested her mother knew the Somerton man and may have even been his lover, a revelation that would come decades later, long after Jessica's death. Kate also claimed her mother was fluent in Russian and had a secretive past, adding another layer to the Cold War espionage theory. The walls of silence were closing in. Was he a Soviet spy, executed for a mission gone wrong, or to prevent him from revealing secrets? The timing, amidst the burgeoning Cold War, made this a compelling theory. His immaculate presentation, the erased identity, the sophisticated poison, and the unbreakable code all pointed towards a professional. Was he a lover abandoned, driven to a lonely suicide, using the Rubaiyat as his final lament? Or was he a biological experiment gone wrong, a victim of some dark research into chemical agents? The unusual condition of his organs, the lack of conventional poison, lent a terrifying ambiguity to his death. His body was exhumed in 2021 by Professor Derek Abbott, a scientist who has dedicated years to this case, in a renewed effort to extract DNA and finally give the Somerton man his name back. Initial DNA analysis has provided some tantalizing clues, suggesting a distinct European ancestry, but the full picture remains elusive, complicated by the degradation of genetic material over decades. To this day, the Somerton man remains the ultimate cipher, a reminder that a human being can be erased from history while the whole world is watching. His story is a chilling testament to the power of secrets, the fragility of identity, and the enduring grip of the unknown. He is a ghost in the annals of criminal history, a spectral figure whose very existence poses uncomfortable questions about who we truly are when stripped of all labels, all connections, all memory. The fear he instills is not just in the unsolved murder, but in the terrifying possibility that someone can vanish so completely, their story becoming merely a series of unanswerable questions. The chilling reality that a life can be eradicated so effectively, leaving behind only tantalizing breadcrumbs that lead nowhere, is what truly terrifies investigators to this day. It suggests a vast, silent machinery at work, capable of making people disappear without a trace. Does the Tamim Shud code hide a message of war or a final goodbye to a hidden family? Was Jessica Thompson a grieving lover, a reluctant accomplice, or a trained operative herself? Who do you think this man really was, and why was his identity worth killing for? Dive into the comments below and share your theories. If you want to dive deeper into the dark corners of history and uncover the cases that the world tried to bury, make sure to subscribe to Dark Case Files and turn on notifications so you don't miss our next chilling investigation. The truth is out there, waiting in the shadows. Stay curious, stay vigilant,